Hey guys, we're going to go ahead and do our notes this way today. Take a look at your doodle notes. Make sure you're on the one that says water cycle once you've folded it in half on the front. And we're going to run through these. This should be the front of your page. There is a small addition that I want you to make in just a moment, so be aware of that. So the water cycle is the process by which water moves through the earth and the atmosphere. So you already have talked about how there is water vapor in our atmosphere. We're also going to talk today about how the water is moving both on the surface of the earth and just beneath the surface in our soil and in the groundwater. We're going to add the word in transpiration here. Remember, this is when water leaves plants and enters the atmosphere as a part of the water cycle. You may have also heard evapotranspiration. For the purposes of our class, we're just going to use the word transpiration. And this is when water moves from plants to the atmosphere. Evaporation is when water changes from a liquid to a gas. This is caused by heat. Remember that as particles heat up, they begin to move more, and this actually causes the particles to leave the water, that they're a part of the liquid water, and to enter the atmosphere. Condensation is really the reverse process. As the water vapor cools down, it's going to go from a gas to being a liquid. Those water molecules are going to join back up again and form droplets of water. This can happen up in clouds in the atmosphere. It's also what happens on the outside of a glass when you're drinking. Those droplets of condensation on the outside of a glass aren't coming from inside the glass. It's because the glass is cooler than the air around it. And so the water molecules that are in the air, the water vapor, slow down and cool off enough, they actually condense and form droplets on the outside of your glass, straight out of the atmosphere. Precipitation is going to be water droplets that fall from the atmosphere. This can be liquid rain. It can be solid precipitation, such as sleet, snow, or hail. The ocean is going to be a very important part of the water cycle. It is the largest source of water on Earth, making up 75% of Earth's surface. So yes, 75% of our water is salt water, but when it evaporates, it leaves that salt behind. And then finally, the sun is what powers the water cycle. Remember when we discussed our heat transfer, that the sun is going to heat up the earth using radiation. And then due to convection, the atmosphere is going to warm. And this process is going to help power the water cycle as well as that radiant heat entering the water itself and bodies of water such as the oceans, the water in the soil, lakes, and streams. Now let's open your notes up and take a look at the inside. We're going to start off with that blank number 1 just under the sun. As I just mentioned, the sun is going to be what powers the water cycle. Oh, sorry, there's one thing I want you to change on your form as well. I have water vapor from trees. I want you to edit that to say plants, not trees. So just mark out the word trees and write plants right above it. If you have whiteout, you can use that. Moving back over to the right, the sun's rays are going to heat the ocean, and this is where we're going to start our water cycle. Now, the sun's rays heat the ocean. They also heat rivers. They heat the soil. They are going to heat any area that has water in it, and water can leave these areas and evaporate. That liquid water can evaporate, but in this case, we're going to start with the ocean. The ocean is, again, the largest body of water, 75% of Earth's surface. And as the water evaporates, which takes us to our next blank, it warms up, it begins to move more, and then it leaves that body of liquid water and it enters the atmosphere as water vapor. Now, where the diagram says hot water vapor, I don't mean it's hot like steam. I mean it has more energy than liquid water does. It's moving more, so it has a higher temperature. This water vapor, once it's in the atmosphere, it's going to begin to move through the atmosphere, and as it rises, remember that warm air rises, it will reach the cooler parts of the troposphere, where it will begin to cool. This is also happening at the same time as water vapor leaves the plants through transpiration. All this water enters the atmosphere, and as it cools, it becomes condensation. Remember, this is when it transforms from water vapor to liquid water. And I see I misspelled condensation. That should be condensation. I apologize for that. Please make sure you correct condensation. The movement of the air with wind as that cool air begins to move. It can eventually condense and cool, and enough water joins the water in that cloud to form precipitation. The precipitation can fall depending on temperature in a number of different forms. That's your rain when it's above 32 degrees. Sleet and snow are going to occur at or below freezing. Sleet typically occurs when you have a layer of warm air above a layer of cold air. So you have liquid water falling, and then it's going to hit that cold air just before it falls. Snow is going to occur when it's going through a deep layer of cold air. We also have freezing rain. That's going to occur when the air is just above freezing, but surfaces are actually below freezing. And so as soon as the water hits them, it freezes. And then we also have hail, which is actually going to occur during the warmer seasons. It's associated with big thunderstorms. And it happens as droplets of water are blown very high into the atmosphere, up to where the atmosphere itself is so cold the water freezes. And those water droplets get thrown up and drop down, up and down, getting more and more layers of ice in them until they become so heavy the storm can no longer support them and they fall to the ground as hail. Regardless of the form the precipitation takes, it's eventually going to flow back towards the ocean. If it's liquid water, or once it melts, it will become runoff on the surface, or it can percolate through the soil. This water, as it moves down through the soil, becomes part of the groundwater and will eventually make its way horizontally towards the lowest points, which are going to contain our oceans or other large bodies of water, such as lakes. And these also typically will eventually connect to the ocean. The water cycle is a process by which water moves through our atmosphere.